Today's patient was an ETX 12P PA speaker. We weren't getting any sound through the subwoofer. Well, lo and behold, speaker's dead. OL on the limit means the voice coil is probably bad here. We usually like to see 2 to 8 ohms on a speaker like this. So we got to take off the leads from the speaker terminals, and I'll show you how I recone this speaker. A little bit of rubbing alcohol or some nail polish remover can usually loosen up this glue. And then you're going to take a nice sharp razor blade and pop off this dust cap. From there, we also want to remove all the glue around the surrounding foam of this speaker. Go slow and take your time because you don't want to rip up the metal of the basket too much. Also, you may be able to use some of the cone again depending on how gentle you are. Flathead screwdriver worked well for me, and then you can gently slide her off. Only thing left holding this speaker in place was just a little bit of solder on the terminals. So we're just going to loosen that up and pop it off, and we should be able to take a better look at the voice coil. Maybe it's an easy fix, says the guy on Facebook Marketplace who has no idea what he's doing. And that does not look like an easy fix. That looks like a big old hole in the voice coil. Yeah, that's not going to do one bit. I'm going to go down and tape the gap between the basket and the magnet where the voice coil sits so that we don't get any debris down in there. We need this thing as clean as possible because if you get some scratching on your voice coil, you are toast and wasted a lot of your time. So, you've got to get everything real nice and clean for this to work well. I'm using a little bit of nail polish remover with some acetone in it so that it'll peel off this glue around the surround and around the spider. So then we got to clean it up because this whole game's about being nice and clean. So a little isopropyl alcohol to get the rest of the debris off, and we should be in business. We're going to clean this gap with a little bit of double-sided tape or running a business card or some paper, like printer paper, through it several times. And then I'm going to grab some really good looks in there, make sure we didn't see any sort of debris, because even just a little piece of metal or a little piece of glue in there is going to ruin our day. Here's the new voice coil kit I got in, and it looks darn close to the original, and it better because it's supposed to be the factory replacement for the speaker. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to try to find how many pieces of paper will correctly gap the magnet and the voice coil. First I tried 3 pieces of paper, but it seemed it was a little too tight of a fit. You should get just a little bit of play up and down. 2, we're going to try, set that in, and now that voice coil can move just a little bit with only a little resistance from the paper. So we're going to use some real nice heavy speaker glue on the bottom to keep the spider connected from the outside. So a little bit of glue on the spider and a good healthy amount of glue on the basket. Luckily this one's already leveled to the right size. It gets a little tough to measure how far down you want that voice coil. Once it's in place, we're going to put a nice thick bead around after several drive fits of some more speaker glue, trying to get as much contact surface on there as we can. So we're going to spread it down and get a little bit on the surround. Give it a wiggle left and right, and then line up the holes appropriately. Another speaker is a nice weight to keep it on there. Then we're going to take some 2-part epoxy. I'm using some Gorilla Glue epoxy 5-minute type, and just getting it around that voice coil. We want something incredibly strong between the voice coil and the cone. And then just a little more speaker glue on the tinsel leads coming off the voice coil. Voice coil to cone and spider need very strong glues. The rest of the parts need very flexible but strong glues. That's why we're going to use a little more speaker glue around the dust cap, and that should get it to lay in place really nice. Keep those JBL power amps in the back. You can check out my other videos to see how I fix those up. Always want to give the glue the recommended amount of time to dry. About 24 hours is usually good for each step of gluing. So there was a little bit of time lapse that you didn't see there, but we're going to give this guy a little screw in, make sure that everything sounds right. What you can do before you install it is just give it a nice bounce up and down gently and make sure that you don't feel or hear any rubbing on that voice coil. Don't touch it until that glue is firmly dry, and then give it even another 24 hours just to be safe. Sounds good to me. What I like to hear. Rock on.